Now, a heated press conference between Chris Eubank Jr and Conor Benn has just wrapped up, and our reporter Andy Scott was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for us. Andy, a very good evening to you. Can't stay out of the news at the moment, Andy. It's all around, isn't it? An action-packed press conference this time round. So, did Tuesday's big incident come up?
Yeah, it certainly did, and let's not pretend we weren't expecting it. It was the talking point, wasn't it? You know, a lot was said on Tuesday that's kind of been overshadowed by the incident at the head-to-head, and they went straight to it. I mean, Chris Eubank Jr was scanned by an egg scanner before he made his way onto stage. I mean, that was predictable. We probably should have seen that coming. You know, it was brought up. He was quizzed on it, and he was pretty, you know, remorseless. And here's what he had to say when he was asked if he would do it again.
He deserved the embarrassment of what happened. You know, if I had an opportunity to do it again, I would. Unfortunately, I come unarmed today. I've been thoroughly searched multiple times, couldn't sneak any in. But in all seriousness, this is a real fight. You know, this is going to be a bloodbath. This is going to be like the first fight between my father and Nigel Benn. It's going to be special.
OK, yeah, Andy, so that's what Chris Eubank Jr had to say about it. What about Conor Benn?
Well, I think in the balance of power in terms of who said what, Conor Benn was a lot more reserved today. You got the impression that he had got everything off his chest that he needed to earlier in the week. And he actually started by saying, look, I've not actually got a lot to say today. But Conor is very emotional. I think he wouldn't mind me saying that. He wears his heart on his sleeve. And as much as he tries not to get involved, when you've got Chris Eubank Jr verbally jabbing at you, there's only so much he could take. Chris Eubank Jr really went after Eddie Hearn. That was the top tier headline. He just would not let Eddie say his piece. The only time Conor really got animated is when Chris Eubank Jr and Nigel, Conor's father, got into, let's call it, a discussion about Nigel putting hands on Chris during the egg incident, and Conor really did sort of make his mark there in no uncertain terms. But Chris Eubank Jr is always the conductor of the orchestra. Certainly he dances to his own tune. He doesn't really like being dictated to. Conor Benn just played it a lot cooler today, said his piece when he needed to, and yeah, you know, that incident I just mentioned there, he kind of lost his cool a little bit. But Conor was a little bit more reserved. I mean, the big news on Conor Benn is that he has applied for his British Border Control licence. Robert Smith, earlier in the piece, you know, maybe a month or so, said when and if he applies, I don't see there being a reason why he wouldn't be granted his licence. So from Conor Benn's point of view, it looks like he will be boxing under the British Border Control licence here in April. OK, Andy, obviously we've just seen a repeat of the incident from Tuesday, and Conor Benn's reaction, understandably furious when it happened. So they meet again today, and how do they avoid a repeat of that? Well, it was very difficult. I mean, I think actually the security team here did a great job. We should shout those guys out, really. Not an easy job, but at the same time, you want to see the two go face to face. Eddie Hearn said it on Sky Sports News earlier, like, you want to see these two fighters get as close as they can. So there was a face-off on stage, and there was almost that wall of security like we famously saw when Mike Tyson fought Lennox Lewis. And they did keep them apart. Conor Benn, for his part, he did want to take a step towards Chris Eubank. You could quite clearly see that. But I think cool heads prevailed. Let's not let them get that close, because unfortunately, there is so much bad blood there that I don't think you're going to get the desired result. Actually, what was interesting is we were allowed down at pitch side, and there was a promotional head-to-head down on the pitch. And that was a lot more spiteful. Chris Eubank Jr stood with his fist cocked and ready to go. And Conor Benn really looked like he did want to get to him. Again, it was almost impossible to get a clean shot of it because the security, they just can't let them get close. So lots more security on site today, lot more protection just to ensure that we don't have a repeat of those pictures. Because look, you know, I was going to say I'm not an idiot. I mean, we all saw those pictures and we know what boxing promotion and sports promotion's about. And those pictures have gone far and wide. So from a promotional point of view, from Eddie Hearn and Ben Shalom's point of view, great, it's done the job, hasn't it? But from the British Boxing Board of Control perspective, you know, it's a great fight, a great rivalry, and you don't really need to cheapen it. And Chris Eubank Jr. will have to go and answer his case before the Boxing Board of Control next week. And they've got to be careful they don't bring the sport into disrepute. But, you know, it did its job, didn't it? It had its desired effect. It's got everybody talking about it. Let's just hope we don't see a repeat in the future when these two come together inevitably with the rest of the fight week build-up.
Absolutely, Andy. It's going to be some fight, isn't it? Thank you, as ever.